Thank you. For announcements, if you would, please silence all cell phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any recommendation of this commission, appeal cards are to our right. If you would like to speak, we would ask that you fill out a speaker's card so we have a record. If not, after you speak, please fill one out. Each side will be provided 10 minutes to present their case and or to oppose the case with 5 minutes of rebuttal. And if you would, at the end of each case, if you wish to discuss it further, we would ask you leave the building, as if you go into the back chamber, it does echo back in. This time I would ask Commissioner Randolph to give us an invocation and Commissioner Casabon to lead us in the pledge.
Gracious Father, once again we come to you as humble as we know how, giving you thanks for watching over, protecting us, our families, our homes, and this parish, Lord, all day. We thank you for this commission. We thank you for the government that we serve. We thank you for all that are present tonight. Help us to make decisions that's in the best interest of all. And all these blessings we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In our packages, we have the minutes from the April 7th, 2015 meeting. Commissioner Matthews.
I have looked at it and have one change on item number 15. The opposition was Reichert Toledano, and it should be spelled Toledano. With that change, I move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Matthews, a second by Commissioner Randolph. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I would ask for a vote. Motion carries. Postponing of cases. Staff, are there any cases?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Number 2 on the agenda, ZC 14-12-104, and the owner is here in the audience to address any questions you may have.
Thank you. ZC 14-12-104, existing zoning, I-4 Heavy Industrial District. Proposed zoning, A4 Single-Family Residential District. The parcels, 49.21 acres. The petitioner, Parish Council by motion, October 2nd, 2014. The owner, St. Joe Brick, MP Schneider III. Location, parcel located on the east side of U.S. Highway 11, south of Robert Road, north of Howes Road, Ward 8, District 14. The petitioner has asked for postponement. If Mr. Schneider, if you would come to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Commission, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I want to also thank you for having the courage and the foresight to postpone cases like this where the property owner in the very beginning didn't even know that the property was being set up to be rezoned, and then to postpone it as you have done in the past. And tonight I would ask you to indefinitely postpone it. Obviously, the councilman and I have not seen eye to eye on what we need to do for this property. We both have different visions for the property. I believe that in the future we might be able to come to some type of compromise, but I'm not interested in coming up here month after month asking you for a postponement for the last month, from the last month. The property in question has been zoned industrial for 40 years. This is not something that just happened overnight. And during the comprehensive zoning, we met with staff. In fact, Robert Eccles, my colleague, did, and I met with councilmen concerning the property during the comprehensive zoning. So we're being good caretakers of properties and not ignoring what's going on in the area, but would like to maintain the industrial zone at this time. And if we were to change it from industrial to residential, you would at least cut the value in half, if not by 90%. And that's not something that I'm pulling out of the air, because we have sold some property very close to this to two major industries now in the parish, Rooms to Go and AWG. And that's all happened within the last 6 years. So I would respectfully ask the commission to indefinitely postpone this, and if we can work something out in the future, then we'll try to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the postponement? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? This time, I would close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, are you the owner of the property, sir?
Our family company is,
property
yes ma'am, St.
on
Joe
that.
Brick.
I've been listening, and this has come up before, where I really have a problem with, I feel like coming from the parish council, this is government telling a private individual that you need to downzone your property. I do have a property, I guess I have a question of council that, as I guess the gentleman stated, that it is devaluing his property, that if the parish does that, then would they be, I know that we've never done that before, and if we did downzone this and he would lose property value, would we be, as a parish, willing, or would he have to compensate him for his loss? I've just never, this has been coming up, and we made sure that the property owners were notified by certified letter before, we made a vote and decision that they were okay with that. This gentleman is not okay with it, and it is his property. And I have a problem with it. I just wish to deny this and, keep saying postpone indefinitely. I just say that I think this is an improper thing to do, is to arbitrarily, I think, change a zoning when the property owner is not requesting. And this particular zoning does fit in that particular area, that it is industrial. So instead of postponing, I would make a recommendation to deny.
So, first of all, there was a question to council
About the compensation.
about the compensation issue.
That is a matter that would have to be determined at a much later date,
Well,
based upon many, many factors that I don't know all the factors involved in this, but the request for zoning is up to the commission
Okay.
to make a determination. After looking at the entire area, the past history of the property, there are many, many factors that the commission should look at. And then if there's justification for a down zone,
correct.
that doesn't necessarily mean that there would be compensation paid.
But that's what I'm saying.
right.
It's like, this is, to me, we've been dealing with this in different properties, particularly in that area, that, I really have a problem with it, that we didn't hear from the other property owners. We're hearing from this property owner. And I do not feel comfortable making the decision and downzoning this particular property when the owner is opposed to it. And it still does fit in that particular area as what it's zoned now.
Commissioner Randolph.
Are we gonna address the motion first, or we're just having discussion?
Discussion.
We're having discussion.
Okay. Mr. Snyder, I appreciate you coming before us and making the presentation because it does enlighten all the commissioners as to the status of the property as a property owner. You did say that in the future, you hope that there would be some type of communication or some type of understanding between you and the Councilman Smith. With that being said, when you suggest indefinite, do you have some type of idea of how long the indefinite would be? Or is that just unlimited until such time that it comes up again?
Well, thank you for that question, Commissioner. I had contacted Councilman Smith through another party, and we were not able to meet until approximately 2.5, 3 hours ago, which I thought was not appropriate for me to try to make a decision on something that's so important to my family and my business. And when we first met in December, he thought we were going in one direction, and I thought we were going in a different direction. And when we met not just a few hours ago, it was not in the same way. And I made a commitment to him that I would meet with him again concerning this. But I don't think it's incumbent upon the property owner to have to go find a councilman or any governmental entity, or when I'm not trying to do anything. I'm back here, I'm in a defensive posture right now. I'm not in an offensive posture, but I can get in one of those. I've done that before too. But I'm not happy with the way the process is done. And the council themselves should not be making motions to rezone a person's property without their knowledge, or with their knowledge. But it was without my knowledge what was going on. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'll get on my boat. I've done it a long time before. So if we defer it, be very candid with you, I've researched it. This isn't by no means a presentation, because if I come with a presentation, I'm going to show you pictures and aerials and all that good thing. But if we defer this, then it doesn't arbitrarily, it goes to the council. And then the council can amend that recommendation and overturn what you do. If you indefinitely postpone it, then it stays here. And then you make the decision at the point where I say to Councilman Smith, yeah, I'll do I-1, I-2, I-3. I didn't want to do I-4 in the first place. But he thought we were somewhere else completely, and I said, well, let's back up. So that's what I would respectfully ask you to do today.
And I would like to amend or go along with the suggestion of the owner that we postpone this indefinitely.
I'll second that.
No, I thought we had a motion and a second, and it overrides.
Let me explain now what happens, but I just want to record this. We have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to postpone indefinitely, and a second by Commissioner Matthews. Now, under Robert's Rules of Order, a motion to postpone has a higher precedence than a motion to deny or a motion to approve.
Could I ask him a question? Then you're saying you'd prefer it to be postponed to continue with negotiations, or keep the lines of communication open between you and the councilman?
Commissioner, I'd like it to be postponed indefinitely, so I don't come
Okay.
back next month, and the next month, and the next month.
Okay.
And if the councilman wants to do something, then I would expect him to come to me and say, let's work this out. I don't think I need to keep going back and forth
Okay,
to do
that's,
this.
my point is, you are the owner of the property, and that this is what you want, then that is, I'll agree to it, that's fine.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, now for discussion, we have a motion to deny by Commissioner Casabon and second by Mr. Willie. We also have a motion to postpone indefinitely by Commissioner Randolph, second by Commissioner Matthews. That motion to postpone indefinitely takes precedent. Commissioner Matthews has a
Do it.
comment.
The only thing that can be discussed at this point is the motion to postpone, and I have some comments on that. To do other than what is being requested would send it to the council, and then they could do whatever the council would choose to do. And I think in this case, that's not a good thing to do. As I'm sure Mr. Schneider knows very well, that to try to rezone a piece of property without the owner's knowledge is against state law, and we can't do that. So if we postpone it indefinitely, it sits until such time as someone requests us to bring it back.
Preferably the owner.
Yeah, the owner can't bring it back, the council can't bring it back, we're the only ones that can vote to bring it back. And that's exactly where this ought to be right now. And I encourage everyone to agree and vote to postpone it indefinitely.
Well, if you make you feel better, I'll withdraw my motion.
No, you're not required. So we have a motion to postpone indefinitely by Commissioner Randolph, second by Commissioner Matthews. Commissioner Casabon, do you have any further comment?
No.
Okay, you're late. Hearing none, I would ask for a vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you and the commission and for your patience and your time in this. And it's just that I'm not against the council doing this. I'm against state government doing it. I'm against the federal government doing it. Once we lose our property rights, we start to lose our freedoms. And I think that's very important that we maintain that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Staff, are there any other postponements?
I do not have any other requests. However, I would like to bring up to your attention that case number 10, ZC 15-05-047, has been withdrawn. I don't know if there's anyone in the audience, but I just wanted to bring it up to your attention.
Case ZC 15-05-047, existing zoning NC6, Public Cultural and Recreational District, proposed zoning HC2, Highway Commercial District. The parcel, 2.09 acres. Petitioner, Ephraim Rothschild. The owner, Rothschild's Development, LLC. The parcel is located on the west side of Louisiana Highway 59, south of Parker Drive, Ward 3, District 5. The petitioner has requested a withdrawal. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Matthews.
Since they want to withdraw it, is there any action we need to take?
No action needed. I was
Yeah.
just bringing it up
Yes.
to your attention
Yeah.
as well as the public.
Yeah.
Thank you. So no action is taken, the motion, or the case is withdrawn. Any others? Thank you. All right, we are on number 1 of our agenda. ZC 15-03-019, text change. Ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Unified Development Code by creating section 6.09, entertainment overlay. Staff?
This ordinance was presented in front of you for the past 2 months. So we're coming again with the same ordinance as you can see in your packet. I attached a definition of entertainment venue, and it is up for discussion.
And also for the record, this was postponed from our April 7th, 2015 meeting. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment? Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, thank you, Carl Hernandez. I commented before on this ordinance, and it's the same ordinance. So obviously, I thought improvements were necessary, and obviously that hasn't happened yet. I'll go backwards with the ordinance, beginning at the end. Someone pointed out, I think at the last time, that the numbering needs to be changed or on here because 6.0904 appears twice. So I guess it's 05, the last thing, establishment of entertainment district overlay. So that particular sentence is very similar to what's in the manufacturing housing overlay. So that's that. I won't comment any more on that. The one before it, 04, the first 04, it says, any request for entertainment shall be processed in accordance with, again, that's very similar to what's in the manufactured housing overlay, again, in there. So I won't comment on that. 03, on there, that one, I'm having problems with. And I'll read it for the public's benefit. It says, when property is located in or adjacent to residentially zoned neighborhoods or properties, the site and structure provisions of the underlying zoning district apply. Now, this is supposedly an entertainment overlay. Now, and in particular, dealing with alcoholic drinks. And in order to have alcoholic drinks in this venue, you need to have, I believe, certain zoning classifications, beginning with NC 5. You can have a restaurant with alcohol. HC 1, you can have a restaurant with alcohol. HC 2, you can have a bar in there. So I'm confused as to why the words in a residential neighborhood would appear in there. It would seem to me that should be stricken, that all we're talking about is being adjacent to residentially zoned property, apparently, not in a residentially zoned. And I would also amend it in here to also say that the underlying zoning district apply, except for, and I'm going to have some suggestions here, when a more restrictive provisions apply as herein stated. Now, if we go up the under permitted uses, one of the things that's interesting that's missing, as in some of the other overlays, are standards and criteria. There's a general standards and criteria section. There is no such thing here for this, and so you wonder, well, why isn't there? It would seem to me that you would want to have something that says a minimum number of acres in order to be an entertainment a district overlay in here. And I would suggest something like having like 5 acres as a minimum for that. I would also suggest that you would have that the zoning must be such that the permitted uses are in fact permitted in that zoning district. What concerned me about the 03 provisions was that suppose you had, and I know you do have some grandfathered in uses in here, that they could be in residential, apparently, or they could be in another zone that does not permit alcoholic beverages within that particular zoning district. So what I'm suggesting is that in order to have this overlay, you must be in a zone that permits this type of activity, is what I'm suggesting. And there's nothing in here that suggests such a thing. And it's interesting that it also then talks about that you could have entertainment, live entertainment, and other things in here. What I would suggest is that if you are adjacent to a residentially zoned area, that you have a minimum of 100 feet between the live entertainment portion of, and it could be outside, obviously. If it's inside, obviously it would also apply. But there and the residentially zoned neighborhood. If in fact you're within 200 feet of a residentially zoned, then I guess you could be outside on the thing. Okay, so if you're 100 feet, you can be inside live entertainment. If you're 200 feet, then you can be outside with live entertainment adjacent to a residentially zoned neighborhood. Obviously, if it's adjacent to another commercial, then I would think that again you should have for outside, you should have a 100-foot minimum for that. So I think there should be some criteria for having entertainment inside and outside, and apparently where you're adjacent to, whether you're adjacent to residential or you're adjacent to commercial, industrial, a church or whatever it might be. So something to consider in this. I think there's some additional work that needs to be done, and I would hope that you would give that some consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to comment? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Matthews.
I'd like to address a couple of things that Carlo brought up. One, that he was concerned about the zoning, be required to have a zoning for alcohol, and he didn't see that. I think clearly myself, 60903 indicates that in order to get this zoning, which deals with alcohol, you have to have a underlying zoning that permits alcohol use. So I think that's taken care of. The distances and things for outside type of entertainment, I think we have noise ordinances that deal with that. And I think they're covered in that. And if they're not, then maybe we need to amend our noise ordinances. But I think that takes care of the distances that entertainment activities, particularly outside entertainment activities, will be from other activities. I do think there are a couple of things that might be appropriate to change in here. I think under 01, the real purpose of this entertainment overlay is to deal with this type of venue that will be adjacent to residentially zoned neighborhoods. And I think that the purpose as stated is not totally clear. I think the last two parts of this that address surrounding residential neighborhoods and protect the character of residential neighborhoods leads me to believe that that's the real point. However, I think if we added to where it says to obtain a permit for the sale of beverages of high alcoholic content in a limited geographical area, and we add adjacent to residentially zoned neighborhoods, this makes it abundantly clear that the whole purpose of this ordinance is to deal with entertainment venues that would be adjacent to residentially zoned neighborhoods. I think Carla did have a good point. We ought to correctly number it. On the definition of entertainment venue, council has drawn, I think, a very good definition of entertainment venue. He and I discussed it, and I told him I drew one, and it was very similar to the one I drew, so you must have done a really good job, Terry.
Give credit to Helen.
Helen,
It was Helen.
well, Helen, you did a good job. I thought Terry drew it. However, I'd like to make two small changes. Where it says entertainment venue shall mean any venue, I think it's improper to define venue with the term venue. I think we ought to change that to property. And I think the first word on the second sentence needs to be include, but not includes, just grammatically. And with those changes, those amendments, I would move to approve.
Just as a point of clarification, including the renumbering.
Oh, yeah.
Eliminate,
Yeah, I think
we add
might wanna-
6.0905.
Yeah. 2 4s is probably not good.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion,
Just a moment, just to make sure that I've grasped, in 6.0901, you wanted to add adjacent to residentially zoned neighborhood after,
Limited geographical area.
okay, before to maintain.
Adjacent to residentially zoned neighborhoods, comma, to maintain.
Okay. And then do the renumbering and change in the word venue for property and eliminate the S after include.
Yes, and actually, I forgot one other thing. I think in the real 04, that just to make it clear that what we're doing, what we're talking about here is really what we normally do. The planning department gets to see all these things, requests first. And I would like to add there, with the exception of that the request will first be reviewed for compliance with the standards and criteria of this section by the Department of Planning, just so it makes it clear that you all get it first.
It should actually be the Department of Development,
Is it development? Okay,
but you would like to insert, could you?
just the word, request will first be reviewed
Okay.
for compliance. And then the Department of Development, if that's the correct term.
Okay, thank you.
so we have a motion by Commissioner Matthews to approve as amended, second by Commissioner Richard. Commissioner Casabon.
I guess I have some questions to make sure I understand this. I guess I'm more concerned over what's stated as, or explain it to me, the establishment of entertainment district overlay. Is this a permanent thing, like these particular, like we do the mobile home overlay? And these particular areas, are those going to be established first, the overlays, where these events would be permitted?
Well, a request could definitely come from the council as any other request, or it could be requested by an individual.
But
A property owner.
if they did, like, would it come before us to?
Yes,
have
it's a zoning change.
Okay, whether, with the overlay, all right. Once this overlay is established, in the first paragraph, it's saying, according to the state law, they have to, the alcohol content, they have to conform to, they still have to be within the boundaries of what the state requires and our parish ordinances. So for instance, if this particular area, they look into how close they are to a church or a school. So are we doing that? I mean, is that part of deciding this overlay? State law requires that they, the sale of alcohol cannot be within 500 feet of a school.
Martha, that would pretty much go without saying.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm
If
saying.
state law requires
This-
it and our parish law requires it.
But that's what I'm
then
saying.
yeah.
This
This doesn't
ordinance-
change parish law or state law.
Correct, but this entertainment overlay, are they looking at that? When we establish it, they will be a lot, we just see the area on a map. If you don't know that area, if there's a school or a church by it. So is that something staff is researching, that this overlay would be acceptable?
We'll have to
That's,
research it.
that's the, why
You'd have
why
to
they
Mr.
get it
Matthews,
for
excuse me,
compliance.
point of order. The question was addressed to staff.
That y'all would research it, and when it comes before us, y'all have researched it, and this is an appropriate area
Yes,
for.
we'll do a staff report, just like any
Okay.
other staff reports you have in your packet this evening.
Correct.
And then we'll make a recommendation,
Okay,
and the zoning commission will vote on it.
this is.
So we
in-
may or may not recommend.
But
in
it is a
favor.
permanent thing, like the overlay of the
Yes,
mobile.
that's
home.
correct, yes, once it's approved by the council.
Thank you.
Commissioner Randolph.
Want to make sure I have all of the amendments. First of all, in 6.0901, we are adding in behind limited geographic area adjacent to residentially owned neighborhood and property.
Zone.
If
Zone.
I may, let's have staff, who's the record keeper of this, recite back to us. And then if staff does not properly record, the commission can amend that.
Okay.
Under 6.0901, after geographic area, we'll add, comma, adjacent to residentially zoned neighborhood, comma, to maintain. We will renumber, and under which will become 6.0904, we will add the word first after the request will first. We will change Department of Planning for Department of Development. And the definition will be amended where the word venue will be changed for property, and the word include will remove the S at the end of the word.
Now I'll open it up to the commission in general. Is there any additions or amendments? Commissioner Matthews, you wrote most of it. Do you have?
Yeah, I just wanted to, Martha, this does not necessarily deal with things like fairs. Correct. It does, I think, but it deals with, if a bar wants to have an entertainment venue, yeah, it would be permanent. And if a piece of property wants to have an entertainment venue and wants to once a year put on a fair, then they could. And this
The permanent thing.
overlay would be permanent.
Right, that's the thing that kind of, because I remember how the conditional uses used to be. It was so hard if something didn't work out, it wasn't permanently rezoned. But if this is a permanent thing and we find that it is quite a nuisance, how do we go back and, you know, change it,
Staff,
you know,
will you
unless
address
we
that,
come
please?
Well, it's like any other zoning change. If a zoning change is approved by the council and it creates some issues, then we'll have to address the issue in particular and see how we can correct it.
I think we need to establish some guidelines before we make this a permanent thing that, you know, when you're talking about making, this is an entertainment so they can have the outdoor, I understand that, and the alcohol or whatever, but once it's established as the overlay, then if it becomes the nuisance, and what is a nuisance? What, you know, what validates you know, the police has been called out, you know, 3 times, 5 times, whatever, that this is getting out of control. How do we handle that? And I think by doing this, we need some guidelines as to their limit of violations, I guess is what I'm saying, that it could be revoked. And because, you know, this is I understand what they're doing, you know, it's just an establishment and extension of.
Yes, staff, is it not correct that regardless of zoning, if you're breaking other ordinances, those ordinances come into play, whether it be noise, whether it be endangerment, whatever?
Absolutely.
That
they
their
would-
permit can be revoked, just like that, without
Or-
having to come
Or they be
before us.
subject to the other ordinances by which all kinds of consequences.
Okay.
Commissioner Willie?
Yeah, just to make, I think Martha touched on it a while ago. This zoning classification, it'd be just like any other classification where the public be able to support or oppose it at a public meeting.
It will be advertised and it will be posted
Because
properly.
that last sentence, you know, down here, it looks like the Department of Planning was just going to decide whether they can do it or not.
That was
That's
my
what
question.
confuses me a little bit on that. But if it's going to be like a regular zoning classification, I'm
Yeah, well, they will still have to apply for a liquor license and meet all other criteria.
okay.
Commissioner Richard?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at it a little differently. I think this is more restrictive. Currently, we offer these types of zoning in the parish, and there's property zoned throughout the parish that you can have alcoholic beverages, et cetera. The problem is, when you have a zoning classification that happens to be next to, say, a neighborhood, they can do that right now without this entertainment overlay. What this entertainment overlay is doing is us being very deliberate about when we're going to say, yes, I realize the underlying zoning's there, but no, we don't think it fits. So to me, this is actually a more restrictive process, and I think it accomplishes what we're trying to accomplish. I don't have the same fears that some of you have because that exists already today. So I think this is actually a good bit of legislation, and I support it.
Commissioner Randolph?
Motion to move that we accept the recommendations, have staff to update it, and bring it back with these amendments.
Yeah, we are, Commissioner Matthews already made a motion as
okay.
amended, and you,
Okay.
or excuse me, Commissioner Richard had seconded.
Perfect.
Commissioner Casabon?
No.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? So we have a motion by Commissioner Matthews as amended, second by Commissioner Richard. Please vote. Motion as amended carries. ZC 15-04-025, text change. An ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Unified Development Code, Volume 1 zoning, Section 6.06R, rural overlay, relative to adding farm winery as an administrative permit. This was postponed from our April 7th, 2015 meeting. Staff?
As stated, this text change was in front of you last month. I know that some questions came up. We have some interested parties in the ordinance, so I'd like to open it up for discussion.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak in favor of the text change? Come on up. Dr. Martin?
Hi, John Martin. The farm winery, that's the amendment that's there. I know there was some discussion last time about, well, how much, how much of the wine should be produced from that particular place? Should it be 10%, 50%, 75%, that sort of thing? I think we've had some discussions with Helen, and she's researched this pretty well. Very good, I'm sure. And from what I understand, and Helen, please correct me if I'm wrong, that the restrictions that are put on them are basically put on by the state. It's not a county that restricts them to, you need to produce 50% off of your property. This is not like other functions. When you're starting out, it takes 3 years just to grow a vine so that it's going to produce, and then you're at the whims of weather. For instance, this last time I was really excited because my 2-year-old Bloc de Bois were producing flowers, tons of flowers, a year ahead of time. I was really excited because when my alcohol license should be coming through in the next month, and I was really charged up for this. And then we had 2 weeks of rain and wind, and I don't have anything. So I'm wiped out. So putting restrictions would really hamper somebody trying to start this, as far as you should have to be growing grapes if you're going to make wine. That's common sense. But as far as saying it should be this much or that much, I wouldn't hamper people trying to start. This is an untapped industry for St. Tammany Parish. I mean, you know, Pontchartrain Vineyards has been there, and they're grandfathered in. I talked to Helen about that. We don't have to put something at they're already grandfathered in. So that's good. It's just us people that are trying to start this. If we could get this started like some of the other states, like New York, California, if we get other people interested and have them start little farm wineries, you know, we could possibly get people that are coming over for the weekend and staying at the Southern Hotel and having dinner over there and taking little tours of wineries that are here. Right now, there's only 5 in the state. And if we're restricted, that have the Bloc de Bois, and if we're restricted, if I lose my Bloc de Bois enough to keep my customers happy, I can't go any place I can't go to my the vineyard next to me and say, hey, I want to buy some of your grapes. And they say, you got to be crazy, I need them. Because there's just not that much available now. We're starting the industry. And Texas started, maybe they had 10 vineyards. And then the state started pushing them to making things easy, not hampering them with rules and regulations, but helping them. And now they've got over 150 vineyards going in Texas. And we could do the same thing here, as long as we don't get our hands tied, because we're really we're risking a lot over a lot of years before we get anything coming back. So you can't hamper that. You know, you want to encourage it, because this could be a good industry for people coming over from the South Shore to make little tours in St. Tammany Parish and spend money over here. So if y'all have any questions, any particular questions, I'm sorry I wasn't here last time. I would like to answer any questions, and Ernie's here, and Ernie, CPA, he's got numbers that are flying all over the place, okay? So he can certainly be a great help. But the only thing I'm asking is don't restrict us right now. Help us. Don't put restrictions that are not going to necessary. No, no county does this. The state might do it if the wine industry grows in the state might see it, which is what's been done, I think, in New York, and wasn't it the state that did all those things, Helen? Yeah, right. Not the counties. So do y'all have any questions on this? I think this is a great thing. Something really could help the parish. Without having to build houses on land, people could learn to use it and make
Excuse me,
another
Dr.
whole
Martin?
industry for
Excuse me, sir.
everybody.
Is there any further new information you'd like to emphasize?
I just want to make sure is there any questions?
That'll come up in a few moments.
Okay.
Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak?
I'm Ernie Longlinay. I was here last meeting. I think you guys remember me. There's not a whole lot new to say. I spoke with John since the last meeting, and it did bring up a situation. What if, if we say it's 50% this or 20% that or whatever it may be, what happens if the good Lord decides he's going to give us a tornado or he's going to give us hail or, will you allow, or can it be, it starts to not make sense to restrict a situation right now when we're just starting, just trying to figure this thing out, trying to make this thing work in the parish and trying to see that, maybe we can get some more folks who are willing to use I've got 25 acres, I'm going to try to use 10 or 12 of it to grow grapes in St. Tammany Parish. And if I do that, then my production will be semi-decent. And if I have decent production, then I'll have customers. Well, do I risk losing those customers because I cannot get grapes from wherever because there was a drought in Louisiana, or there was a flood, or there was a hurricane, or because we harvest in July. Hurricanes seem to come in July and August on us, and it's difficult. But, I hope that you will see things the way that we're seeing them and try to help us to do something that'll be positive for the parish. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you. Caller Hernandez. What I'd like to speak of is in favor of making this a process where the public is going to know that this administrative permit is going to take place. Right now, administrative permits are not advertised anywhere. You get an administrative permit, the next, who knows that this administrative permit has been issued? It's certainly not public anywhere that I'm aware of. Certainly, when I've requested administrative permits, I've had to go into the office to look at that, and I had to pay overtime in order to do that, to have someone sit there with me in order to do that. Now, is that, forthright legal process? Well, what I'm requesting then is to have this through the regular, normal process, zoning process, that this overlay become, for farm wineries, become a process where the public would know, and I would imagine that they would not have any objection to having the public know that, yes, this winery is going to be established here or proposed here, and they'd love to have the advertisement to do that and have people show up, I'm sure, and drink their wine. What I'm asking is that it not be done administratively. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's something that can do us no harm. We had some concerns, I think at the last meeting, about the amount of grape produced on the premises. I have zero concern about that. I could personally care less if they get 100% of it from out of state. The issue is to actually make the wines at the farm. What we don't want to have, I don't think the purpose of this, we do want business, but we don't want to see where we become a distributor, a wholesaler, or we're a wine business where we're selling other brands of wine. There's a whole different process for that. There's a whole different permitting process, et cetera. If we're talking about a farm winery and you need to get your grapes from somewhere else, as long as you're making the wine on the premises, I think it's great. My only other thing is I'm concerned about 400 square feet as a tasting room. That may be too small. That's the size of my garage. So if we can increase that a little bit, I'd be in support of that as well.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes. Under the BA Farm Winery, Statement 2, where it says where a farm wineries allow the proposed use shall meet the following criteria. Under B, at any time, the number of visitors for 15, I believe we should increase that to 30. And I believe that under C, the square footage should go from 400 square foot maximum to 800. That's my recommendations. I make a motion to approve with those recommendations.
Commissioner Davis makes a motion to approve as amended. Commissioner Matthews?
I'm not so worried about where the grapes come from as I am about what I believe Mr. Commissioner Richard alluded to. Unless we have some provision that the wine has to be made on premises, and I don't see that in here. If it's in here, point it out to me, but I didn't see that. Then what we can wind up with is Martin's Wine Cellar, a wine store selling wines from all over the country. And that's not what I think we're looking for. We're looking for a small winery that has a tasting room, and that the largest part of this ordinance deals with the tasting room. And to either say, if you're going to bring in grapes from other places, then a certain amount ought to be from your grapes, or all of the grapes must be produced on premises. You don't call it produced. What do you call it?
Produced. Well, wine is production.
Is it produced? Okay. Fermented. Okay. On premises. That will prevent Martin's Wine Cellar from saying, oh, I'm a farm winery. No, you're not. You're a wine store. That's my big concern, and I don't see that in here. And again, as we pointed out last time, under BA Farm Winery C, it's just wording, but a farm winery tasting room probably shouldn't have a tasting room. It should be a farm winery, may have one accessory structure. I agree with the 800 as opposed to 400 square feet. I mapped out 400 square feet. My den's bigger than that. And 15 plus people in my den for a wine tasting with a bar would start to get really tough. And the 15 visitors, I would think a great part of the people coming to visit these small wineries would be groups. A bus tour. Buses have more than 15 people. I think most buses have about 30, 32 people. And I would think that would be a large part of what you people are looking for, and we would be looking for. Bus tours from the French Quarter coming over here and visiting the wineries, the half a dozen or so wineries we're going to have over here, hopefully. You got to have at least 30 people. And probably, I don't know, 32. I think that's what buses are. Does anybody have any idea what size buses generally are? 32?
They go up to 50 regular bus.
Okay.
Like a whole car bus.
Okay. Well, then I'd say one busload, 50 people. But unless we have some provision in here that says that all the wine will be produced on premises, then I'm against it. If we have something that says that, then I don't have a problem with where the grapes come from, although I think you guys ought to be trying to produce grapes from
Mr.
here.
Chairman, may I address this
Yes.
Please.
issue here? If you want to look at the rural overlay at number 3 in particular, it says limited commercial and industrial uses supporting the agricultural production limited to buildings no larger than 5,000 square feet. So we could probably tie this in somehow to, so from the fact that it allows production, however, it has to be tied in to some agricultural production, because the commercial industrial uses is supporting the agricultural production on the site.
Okay, so what are you suggesting? We
Somehow,
change this, or we add
So-
this to the overlay?
no, it's already in the rural overlay, what I'm
Okay.
reading here. So
So-
we could tie
So what are you
in,
suggesting?
Well, from what the Commissioner Matthews and Commissioner Davis had noted as an amendment, one item is that the wines are produced on the premise, or however that verbiage
Yeah,
works. that
I
they
hadn't
actually-
thought about that
They actually produce or
tonight.
ferment the wine on the premise so that it takes it out of the example of a wine distributor.
Well, should we have that language specifically
Excuse
stated
me,
before we?
Mr. Chair. I'm sorry to interrupt, Michelle, having a is it not addressed in item F? When it says sale, delivery, or shipment of wine manufactured by the permittee? Is that not covering it?
that's correct.
It's not?
I-
No,
Manufactured to me
well,
is-
it's permitted.
Yeah, I could argue that the permittee made it off the premise, They just sold it on the premise.
I'd like to input one
Okay,
thing.
wine manufactured.
Right.
Dave?
So, Commissioner Davis?
Yes, on the very first page, under where it states agricultural products related to farm winery, including honey and grapes, yada, 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 you go down to the bottom, and the last sentence in that paragraph is agricultural product shall not mean any product that already contains alcohol. So that takes care of any other alcohol products come in and then being transported out. So that's already been clearly defined.
So then for the amendments, we would amend 2B to raise it not to exceed from 15, now 50. And under C, the square footage would be amended from 400 to 800.
I will go ahead and change mine from 30 to 50 if that's okay, that's fine.
Okay. So we have a motion by Commissioner Davis as amended to approve. Commissioner Matthews?
No.
I have a second by Commissioner Richard. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please signify, please vote. Motion carries.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hopefully this is gonna work.
Item 4, ZC 15-05-041, existing zoning, A4 Single Family Residential District, proposed zoning, A4 Single Family Residential District and Manufactured Housing Overlay. The parcel, 1.32 acres. The petitioner, Ma Carmen Munoz Vega. The owner, Ma Carmen Munoz Vega. The parcel is located on the east side of 7th Street, south of Louisiana Highway 36, being Square 35, Town of New Claiborne, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The 2025 Future Land Use Plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses, including manufactured homes. Staff does not have any objections to the request and recommends the designation be approved.
Thank you. Anyone from the public wish to speak in favor? If you would please state your name.
Yes, my name is Carmen Munoz. I need change the zoning for moving my I don't know, sorry.
Would you like to, you may speak for her, if you know which.
Yes, she would appreciate your help in changing the zoning to the manufactured home overlay, yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
A motion by Commissioner Casabon, second by Commissioner Willie to approve. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
ZC 15-05-042, existing zoning, A1 Suburban District, proposed zoning A2 Suburban District. The parcel, 7.08 acres. The petitioner, Russell R. Jenkins. The owner, Jamie Lee, Christy Lee, Cynthia J. Lester, Jan J. Perry, Russell R. Jenkins. The parcel is located on the south side of Pine Acres Road, east of Louisiana Highway 437, Ward 2, District 6. Staff?
Considering that the site is surrounded by residential and undeveloped land zone A1 suburban, staff does not see any compelling reason to recommend approval and would like to recommend denial.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak in support?
Good evening, committee members. I am Russell R. Jenkins, and I'm co-owner of a portion of the property with my two sisters, Cindy Lester and Jan Perry. To give you a little background on this property, this is a property that was owned by my mother. She and my father purchased the property years ago, about '97, prior to Katrina. After Katrina, Mom, getting up in age, expressed her wishes to move out of the house, which was a two-story house, and get into a single-floor house. I've worked in construction most of my life, but I'm not a licensed contractor. So her being a clerical worker, 33 years of her life, and myself in construction, we took it upon ourselves to get the new house built. We followed some recommendations after speaking to certain parish officials as to what would be allowed on road frontage and so forth. We proceeded with a survey and went through what we thought were all of the required procedures to get a survey done, a partition of this property, and proceeded to build a new home. On the parcel A, I think everybody has a copy of the survey. On the parcel A, we built a new home, which is not noted here, but it is just about in the position that the letter A sits on this property that's 2.55 acres. Been a good home for Mom. The parcel B was used as a rental, which turned out as a pretty bad outcome. As the housing industry did, it went downhill. Mom sat on the property for a while before she was able to sell in 2012. At that point, we sold the property, which would be listed as parcel B. Through stone title, everything was done, title search was done, everything was in order. So the parcel B has been sold, and that's been sold to Jamie and Christy Lee. Excellent neighbors to my mother, good property owners out there. The home that was built, of course, we went through all of the legal proceedings involved with getting the permits and everything, inspections and so forth. Not a glitch anywhere there. Upon selling the 4.53 parcel B, title search was done. All of that was completed. Mom sold the home. Took some revenue from that home, put it on the mortgage that she had on the two homes, concluded a first mortgage on that loan, on that home. So all of that paperwork was drafted. There was never any indication that there was anything wrong at that point. So now, years later, we're, property owners by act of succession. Mom's passed away a year and a half or so ago. My sisters and I have been in perfect agreement on all of that. And at this point, we're prepared to sell the home. So contracting an agent to do so. We've got an awesome buyer in, ready to sell the property. As all the paperwork has started to come together, we found out there were some issues that had not been addressed. It's been actually deemed an illegal sale of property on the parcel B, which we do not consider ourselves owners as. The Lees have purchased that, and like I say, have been good neighbors. So at this point, we're just at the council's mercy to get this rezoned, which we're told is the appropriate step in order to getting the minor subdivision application done so that we can clear up the paperwork on the property and continue with the sale of the home. So any questions you have, I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in support? Please approach approach the podium and state your name.
Good evening, I'm Lavelle Blitch with Remax Elite, and I represent the future buyer of the property. We entered into a real estate contract dated February 1st. We were supposed to close at the end of February. And not long after that, the title company informed us that we had a title issue. And it was discovered that the survey that had been acquired by the owners had never been recorded. So, and then subsequently learned, as I understand it, that it was after the building of the property that the area voted to bring in a 5-acre parcel requirement for each structure, for each residence. So we can't grandfather this the way we have it. So we're asking, we have a willing buyer and a willing seller. We can't go back and turn back the hands of time. And we're just trying to make the sale of the property, and we have all willing parties. So we're asking you all to help us get where we need to be. And we understand that we have to get your blessing first, then we have to go to council to get a blessing, and then we have to turn it over for a re-subdivision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in support? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes, sir.
are you telling me that you currently own parcel A only, not B?
Yes, sir.
So, but parcel B is part of this, 7.08 acres.
As stated by,
Well, right now, you're asking to change A1 to A2 for both parcels, according to this.
and that's at the recommendation of the staff.
Is that right?
Yes, in order to make it a legal sale, and it will have to be rezoned
It
to
would have to
A2
be
to go through the
Into a minor
minor subdivision.
subdivision split?
Just as a point of information, if I may, Commissioner Davis, they don't own parcel B, correct?
No.
So am I correct that parcel A and parcel B currently, as they exist, houses on them are out of compliance? They have the wrong zoning, is that correct?
No. There's not.
Put them in compliance?
Is there a house on B?
Is there a
was-
house on B?
This house
was-
is on both of them.
Okay,
Parcel B was sold without going through the minor subdivision process.
I understand that, but my question is.
There's a
my
house
point
on
of-
both.
My point of clarification is, what provides us, the petitioner, who is the petitioner that wants to rezone someone else's property? Is
But
it
they-
the council? I'm
they-
sorry? Who is it?
All the property owners listed here are in
Own the
agreement.
two properties?
On the agreement of coming forward to resolve the issue.
The Lees
thank you.
own parcel B, and they're part of, the husband and wife are
Gotcha.
part of the petition.
Understood. So it's one case, two separate owners, two separate parcels, they want them combined.
To add, if I may, Jamie and Christy Lee are wholeheartedly in favor of this
Yes.
being done. We're on a little dead-end road. We found some awesome new property owners that fit the community just right, and all of the community's in favor of it. So,
Thank you. Commissioner Willie?
Russell, you looking to sell parcel A, that's what you're looking to do?
yes,
Okay. But we're gonna rezone parcel B as well, just to correct the minor subdivision problem, right?
that's
So
what
that's the
I'm-
reason B, because we could, if we wasn't trying to correct that problem, we could leave B as an A1, it'd be a non-conforming use, and we could change zoning on parcel A and then
That's
solve
correct.
his problem to sell the property. right?
Yes, but right now, we're trying to correct the
We're trying to
situation.
correct an old problem and do a new situation. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Commissioner Randolph, you no longer have a question or comment? Commissioner Matthews?
I understand what these people are trying to do, and for them, it makes sense. However, the guy or people that are buying A could put 2 houses on it if we change the zoning. The people that currently own B can sell it. They can put 4 houses on it. So we could wind up with 6 houses on 7 acres by making this change, and everything around it is A1. I just think that's a bad precedent to set to wind up putting A2 right in the middle of A1 and allowing, at some future time, 6 houses on this. I just don't think that's good zoning.
Commissioner Casabon?
Yes, this particular area, it is mostly family. All of these, the 3 owners live in that area adjacent to the property. People that buy out there do not buy to resub and, and build. Maybe later on, years later, if they're children, but that should be appropriate because if there's enough room for their children, I don't have a problem with rezoning. It came up again in the comprehensive rezoning where we did the 5 acres. It was because it was so much land on that end of the parish, large parcels, that it was easier for the councilman just to make them the larger 5 acres, under the assumption that the people could come and divide their property. This has 2 houses on it, 2 families that have been there for how many years? 3, 5? How long has the lease been here?
Well, the 2 homes have been there since '07 when we built
Right,
the second home.
And then, but I'm just saying, that is not, we're not setting a precedence. This is making a correction that obviously it wasn't picked up by officials. They've done everything correctly through the building process. And like I said, in the midstream is when we decided that that should be 5 acres or larger. We do have a lot of smaller home sites. I'd say on that road, there's only, it used to be Louisiana Tongue, which has some larger acres. I think our maintenance barns, not, somewhere around there, but there is a lot of smaller acreages, more smaller ones than 5 acre plots that are out there. And I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion by Commissioner Casabon, a second by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Davis?
Yeah, I strongly recommend that what we do is take the area A and change that to A2 and leave area B as A1A. That way we're in compliance with both pieces of property. We're in compliance with both pieces of property, and the maximum number of homes on these 2 properties is gonna be 3.
Do we have to re-advertise for that, if they consider it? Hey,
That's a good suggestion.
To be in
That's a good
compliance, to be
suggestion.
in compliance.
Russell, from the podium, what they're asking you to do is to make an amendment to your original petition.
Correct.
Y'all just want it straightened out so it can be divided, correct?
Sure, there's
So
no
ex-
necessary,
Yeah,
element
so
that would
Helen,
require
are you
parcel
in
B to be
agreement that
smaller.
would work to?
Very much so, yes.
Okay. State again, Mr.
I'd make a
Davis?
recommendation to zone Plot A to A2 and Plot B
A2.
to A1A.
A1A.
Martha, you'd have to withdraw your motion.
I will
No, she
withdraw my-
can't. She
I
cannot
withdraw my
withdraw her
second.
motion.
How
Those
about if I make
motions,
a new one?
point of order, the motions are owned by the commission, not the person that made them. The commission has to do that. You cannot amend a motion on your own accord. So here's where we stand. What can happen is Commissioner Davis can amend the motion. If you would like to make that as an amended
Go
motion, you
for
may do
it,
so.
Jimmy. Go ahead.
I'd like to amend the motion
As stated.
as stated.
And Commissioner Matthews, do you second that motion?
Yes,
Okay.
with comment.
Would you like to make your comment?
Yes, I would.
Point of
Wait,
order.
no, we're going to, yes, we're going to,
Thank you.
Commissioner Matthews is going to make a comment.
I've got the floor. The fact that it was stated people out there buy these properties not to subdivide them, well, that's exactly what has happened here. They bought the property and they subdivided and sold it off to somebody else. I don't see what would stop people in B from trying to do the same thing and coming back to us with the same request. three houses on this property is not excessive. But to allow 6 would be excessive. That's the only reason I seconded that motion.
Thank you. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir. I just wanted, just for clarification, Mr. Jenkins, did you not share with us that there is a new home already built on property A?
Since 2007, yes, sir.
Since 2007.
It was a home that was built by my mother at her recommendation after not having the ability to use the stairs to the second floor. So we built a single-level home. We tried to get her to relocate to a place closer to town. She refused to leave the country that she'd been in for all those years. So that's why the partition was made, and the second home was built for her on the same property. So there was never any intention to create multiple homes on the property other than the second, and there's no request now to do so for parcel B whatsoever. Those folks won't want to see anybody else come in as well.
Okay, thank you. Chair, do you mind if I address?
Certainly. Give the floor.
Staff, with that being stated, a new home and the other homes on B, will that interfere with the configuration of the subdividing of the property if we go along with the A2 and the A1A?
No.
Okay, okay.
A1A.
Commissioner Willie.
No.
Commissioner Casabon.
I concur with it, as long as they can divide it through these, the change and stuff. I'm in agreement.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, now let me see if I got this right. There will be 2 motions. The first motion is a motion by Commissioner Casabon, second by Commissioner Willie, to approve. The second motion is a motion by Commissioner Davis to amend the first motion by stating that parcel A be rezoned at A2 and that parcel B be rezoned A1A. That was seconded by Commissioner Matthews. So first we vote on the amendment. That the amendment will be that amend the motion to approve by stating that parcel A be rezoned to A2 and parcel B be rezoned to A1A. Please vote. The motion to amend the main motion passes. The main motion now is as amended to approved. Motion made by Commissioner Casabon, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote. Motion carries. So what just transpired is your property, our recommendation to council will be for parcel A to be rezoned to A2 and parcel B to be rezoned to A1A.
Okay.
Thank
On
you.
behalf of my sisters and I would thank you very much.
ZC 15-05-043, existing zoning A1A Suburban District, proposed zoning A3 Suburban District. The parcel 1.834 acres. The petitioner Stephen Blanc. The owner B&B Contracting Inc., Stephen Blanc. The parcel is located on the southwest corner of Louisiana Highway 1077 and Gottschalk Road, Ward 1, District 3. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with agricultural uses. Staff does not see any compelling reason to recommend approval of the request, considering that the site is surrounded by residential and undeveloped parcels of land zoned A1A. Staff recommends the request for A3 designation be denied.
To begin with, I've been owning this property since 2000. All the adjacent property next to it is, on both sides, is half acre portion. And it was zoned when I bought it, it was suburban agriculture. My intention wasn't to apply for A3. My intention was to apply for A2. I was under the impression that I had 230 acres because I was paying taxes on it for the last 12 years for 230 acres. But when I had it surveyed, I came up slightly shy of 2 acres. So this is the reason why I came in with the A3. But it's still my intention to only do 2 lots.
And if you would state your name and address for the record?
Stephen Blanc, 288 Dummy Line Road, Madisonville.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Matthews.
Initially, when I first looked at this, without looking at this last aerial, I was going to agree with the staff. But once I looked at the aerial and then looked at the property and figured out everything else on both sides of him are A3. To do anything but A3 on here would be out of character for the rest of the neighborhood, including the PUD that's across the street. This just cries that this needs to be A3 to allow him to build at least 2 units on here rather than just 1. And I move to approve the change from A1A to A3.
Yeah, I second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Matthews to approve, second by Commissioner Willie.
It's compatible.
Commissioner Lauren.
I have a question for the staff. I'm looking at the packet we were given, and it shows that the property adjacent to the north, to the south, and to the west is A1A. And Mr. Matthews saying it's A3?
It's zone A1A, but if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Matthews were referring to the pattern of how it is existing in reality right now. If you look at the aerial that I provided.
Okay, but that's property that's grandfathered in, or what?
That's correct.
So the underline is A1.
Yes, currently it's on A1A.
I was just trying to figure out where the differences were coming in.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, as I said, Mr. Matthews, is that you were referring to currently it is a pattern of looking as A3, but it is zone A1A.
Yes, everything surrounding him is zoned incorrectly. I don't know when they were built or how they were built with the zoning, but none of this is A1A. This is all A3 property that has been built and appears to have been there for a little while.
It was SA in the past.
Ma'am?
It was suburban agricultural in the past.
But I mean, so this has been there for a while. So to say that he has to build one house on this almost 2 acres would be totally out of character for the neighborhood as it currently exists. And all of these other people probably at some point in time are going to have to come and ask us to rezone their property if they try to sell it because it's not the proper zoning.
So Commissioner Lauren, does that satisfy your question? It actually is zoned but the pattern, it is not in compliance. And then Commissioner Matthews was in essence stating that. Good. Thank you for the clarification. Is there any further discussion? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Matthews, second by Commissioner Willie to approve. Please vote. The motion to approve carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Appreciate it.
ZC 15-05-044, existing zoning, A3 Suburban District, proposed zoning, A3 Suburban District, and manufactured housing overlay. The parcel, 20,000 square feet, The petitioner, Jacob E. Fogarty. The owner, Jacob E. Fogarty. The parcel is located on the west side of Green Street, south of Ted Ray Drive, being Lot 6, Square 71, Hillcrest Country Club Subdivision, 73053 Green Street, Abita Springs, Ward 6, District 6. Staff?
Staff doesn't have any objection and would like to recommend approval.
Is anyone from the public who wishes to speak, or is the petitioner here? If you would, please come to the podium and state your name and why you would like this zoning change.
My name is Jacob Fogarty, and I would like to, I'm moving out there to, sorry, I'm nervous.
That's okay.
But me and my family, we purchased some property in the area, and we're just trying to put some houses out there.
Thank you. One manufactured home, right?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone? Yes, sir.
It's kind of our first time.
That's okay. If you would state your name
Edward Fogarty,
and your address.
344 Sloop, Mandeville, Louisiana. We also are next, of course. We bought some property together so we can be close together. We're not from the area. We moved to St. Tammany Parish because it's a great parish with great schools and we feel safe here. So we're trying to, Jacob bought his property on his own, and what's in the budget right now is manufactured housing, and hopefully we can improve on that in the future. And that's why we're here asking for your help today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir. Motion to approve, recommendation.
A motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, a second by Commissioner Willie. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. The motion to approve passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
ZC 15-05-045, existing zoning A3 Suburban District, proposed zoning A3 Suburban District and manufactured housing overlay. The parcel, 15,000 square feet. The petitioner, Edward and Jennifer Fogarty. The owner, Edward and Jennifer Fogarty. The parcel is located on the northeast corner of Massey Street and Flight Street, being Lot 8, Square 3, Hillcrest Country Club Subdivision, 73104, Massey Street, Abita Springs, Ward 10, District 6. Staff?
Same as the previous. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Yes. If you please come to the podium and state your name and address and tell us why you'd like this.
Edward Fogarty, 344 Sloop, Mandeville. This is my wife, Jennifer.
I'm Jennifer Fogarty, 344 Sloop, Mandeville.
Again, same reason, trying to keep the family close. We have new grandchildren, so we like to kind of keep everybody close. And like I said, we love it here in St. Tammany Parish, and this is where we want to set some roots in.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in support? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close it to the public. I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, a second by Commissioner Lauren. Commissioner Matthews.
I fully understand the new grandkids and wanting to keep them close, mine are across the street. But I do have one concern. There are several stick-built homes right around this. And normally we like to try to keep the stick-built homes together. But since nobody in the area seems to be complaining, then I would agree with going ahead and rezoning.
Thank you.
Any other discussion from the commission? Seeing none, we have a motion by Commissioner Randolph, a second by Commissioner Lauren to approve. Please vote. Motion carries.
Thank you very much,
Thank
ladies
you.
and gentlemen. Thank you.
And thank you for your kind comments on our parish, which we agree with.
Thank you.
We have 5 sons, so we want to kind of get them all placed out there.
Bring them over. ZC 15-05-046, existing zoning A1 Suburban District, proposed zoning A2 Suburban District, the parcel 3.885 acres, the petitioner Edward J. Diano Jr., the owner Adolfo Rodriguez. The parcel is located on the south side of Louisiana Highway 1078, east of Donnie Road, Ward 2, District 3. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential and agricultural uses. Staff feels that there's no compelling reason to recommend approval, considering that the site is surrounded by A1 suburban zoning, and at this time would like to recommend a denial of the request for A2 suburban.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? If you'd please approach the podium. If you'd please state your name and address.
Yes, I'm Edward Dino. I'm at 895 Park Avenue, Mandeville, Louisiana. And I'm representing Mr. Rodriguez. And this situation is similar to one that you had previous with regard to re-subdivision of properties with improvements that are on them. I'll go through the history of what this case entails. In 2007, there was an application to re-subdivide this property into 3 parcels, and in dealing with the staff, there was indications that it would be approved pending some conferences with engineering to discuss drainage and improvements, which there weren't going to be any need for drainage and improvements at that time. So the parties entered into one party entered into a bond for deed on the property with the stipulation that it was subject to the zoning laws of St. Tammany Parish, that would govern that, and also entered into restrictive covenants that said that property could not be re-subdivided by anybody in the past, and I mean in the future. What happened was that the sellers were to set up a meeting with engineering. Unfortunately, they had a terrible accident, and one was severely injured. The other Mr. Rodriguez lost both of his legs, and eventually Ms. Rodriguez passed away. So this was passed off to her, but unfortunately was not ever consummated. So they applied. They have parties that want to buy that are a couple and their elderly mother. As you notice on the plat, there's 3 improvements that have always been there. And so they wanted to sell that to that couple and the mother of one of them. And it looked like that there would be no problem, and then we found out the same thing. In the interim, the property had been rezoned, even though it had been approved for 3 in 2007, or there wasn't a problem with it. It hadn't been approved. In 2007, today, because of the change of zoning, there was a problem with it. But there has been, to relieve some of the concerns, there are restrictive covenants that would prohibit any re-subdivision of the property. I would just say that the issue here is not density, it's not improvements. There are improvements already on it. There's 3 houses on that property, so that it's just a matter of whether we're going to have, renters or homeowners living in the area. So.
Thank you, Mr. Dino. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in support of this? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yes, this request would fit in this area. I know the area well, and being that the improvements are already on the property, he's got restrictions on the property, I move for approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Second by Commissioner Dougherty. Commissioner Matthews.
First question, would you give us some more explanation of what restrictive covenants are actually on this property, or properties, or whatever?
Yeah.
That it can't be subdivided, then you are subdividing.
No, the parcels, that was in there, that once the parcels were created, that they couldn't be re-subdivided.
Okay, and that was never consummated?
That was put into a bond for deed that was what would be contained in the sale when the bond for deed was fulfilled. Now, the bond for deed, in big letters, says the bond for deed contract shall be subject to compliance with the provisions of the laws of Louisiana and the ordinances of St. Tammany Parish relative to the development of subdivisions, which all parties initial that clause in the bond for deed. The
act of sale was never
Never
actually
done.
consummated.
No.
So the restrictive covenants were not recorded and put on this property.
The restrictive covenants are in the bond for deed that say what will be in the sale when it's consummated.
Okay, but since the sale wasn't consummated, then the restrictive covenants are not applicable either. Is that correct?
I think the restrictive covenants would be applicable when the sale became applicable.
And since it didn't happen, they're not applicable.
Am I correct that there's a pending sale?
No,
Or they
there's,
already-
what they have are people that want to buy.
So assuming they purchase it, they would purchase it with the restrictive covenants?
Correct. That's the intention of the parties. That's what the feeling of the law of the situation is that they contracted to perform a sale.
Okay, once, if this is approved, and once there's a sale, there will be a restrictive covenant on both of the parcel A and parcel B.
Yes, sir.
That neither of these can be further subdivided.
Correct.
Okay. And who is that restrictive covenant going to be in favor of?
Well, it's in favor of the seller. And I think
Okay, well,
you'll
it
find
needs
that.
to be in favor of the adjacent landowners.
Well, I think that it would be in favor of anybody that would be benefited by it.
Terry? Yeah, I agree. Okay. On parcel A, it appears that there are 2 dwellings.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Helen, if this is rezoned A2, are 2 dwellings allowed?
I do not have a scale ruler with me. However, it appears that the apartment may be under 1,000 square feet, so it would allow a house and a guest house.
Okay. Is it under 1,000 square feet?
That's my understanding. Yes, sir.
Okay. If it's not, then it would be a violation of the zoning laws, and you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I believe that answers my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Commissioner Willie, a second by Commissioner Dougherty. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. The motion to approve carries.
Thank you.
ZC 15-05-048, existing zoning A3 Suburban District, proposed zoning A3 Suburban District and manufactured housing overlay. The parcel, 10,500 square feet. The petitioner, Charlotte E. Sylvie. The owner, Annie Sylvie. The parcel is located on the north side of Preacher's Oak Road, east of Carroll Road, being lots 42, 43, 44, Square 5, Avondale Subdivision, Ward 9, District 14. Staff.
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses, including manufactured homes. Staff does not object to the request and recommends approval.
Thank you. If you would state your name and address, please.
Charlotte Sill, 1411 Hickory Street in Slidell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And would you like to make a comment?
This is my first time. I don't know what to say.
Would you like?
This is our first chance to be able to be homeowners. I've been paying rent for over 15 years, and it's just a blessing to be able to have a home for children and not have to worry about anything.
So you would ask the commission to grant this?
Yes, it's also family-owned as well. They have other family that live in the same section as well.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in support? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close it to the public. I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Motion to approve the request.
A motion to approve by Commissioner
I'll
Randolph.
second.
Second by Commissioner Matthews. Commissioner Matthews.
Just that there are, for the commission's benefit, there are several manufactured homes right in this area, even next door to this piece of property.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? We have a motion by Commissioner Randolph, a second by Commissioner Matthews to approve. Please vote. Motion to approve carries. Is there any old business come before the commission? Is there any new business? Would everybody like to move to adjourn? Thank you. Adjourn. 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 Thank you so much.